What happens in your body if you don't eat food for 100 hours? This is gonna shock you. 100 hours is 4 days and 4 hours. And in this lesson, I'm gonna go through the timeline of the changes that will occur inside of your body throughout the 100 hours. Be prepared to have your mind blown. Amazing things happen inside of your body when you remove the interference. Fasting is one of the best ways to harness this inner physician within your body called the innate intelligence. And it might sound a little crazy to go without food for 100 days, but if you put things in perspective, you'll understand that we have stored body fat to use that for energy during a fast. So let's go through the timeline here of what is happening inside of the body throughout those 100 hours. Through hours 1 through 12, not much is happening with the exception of your body is going through digestion. Once you complete a meal, of course you digest that food. It goes from the large intestine, small intestine, out through the colon. That'll take about 12 to 14 hours. And that's basically what's happening during those first few hours here. You're eliminating the food you ate. There's something else that's also happening. You're lowering the hormone insulin. When you eat food, you raise your blood sugar levels. Insulin is produced to clear that excess glucose out of your bloodstream, shuttle it into your cells, which includes your liver and muscle cells called your glycogen stores. But if there's excess glucose, then that could be shuttled into your body fat. So there might be some water loss happening in terms of water weight dropping off your body as insulin drops during those first 12 to 14 hours. At around the 14-hour mark of this fast, you're gonna notice something. You're gonna notice that you're having some mental clarity. If you struggle with brain fog and maybe procrastination, forgetting people's names, have trouble reading and focusing, that starts to improve around that 14-hour mark of the fast. This is because around the 14-hour mark, you've now completed digestion. And one of my favorite benefits to fasting is this process called energy diversion. We know it takes a lot of energy to process food. When you're done processing that food, now that energy is diverted towards other areas of your body, including your brain. Your brain is the greediest organ inside of your body. It's only 2% of your entire weight, but uses about 20% of your energy requirements. So you start to divert energy towards the brain. Resources such as blood flow and nutrients to the brain. So you're gonna notice, wow, I actually feel like my brain is on fire in a really good way. This could also be because now ketones are starting to get produced around that 14 to 16-hour mark. This part, the ketone part, is different depending on how metabolically healthy you are, but for most people, ketones are now produced, and ketones are simply a byproduct of burning stored fat. What unlocks fat burning is insulin. Insulin needs to drop. During those 14 hours, every hour you're in that fast, you are lowering insulin more and more and more. And around that 14-hour mark, now you start using stored body fat for energy. That energy, or the body fat, the fatty acids, are now sent to your liver and ketones are produced. One of those ketones is called beta-hydroxybutyrate, which actually crosses the blood-brain barrier and fuels your brain. This is why there's a brain reboot happening around that 14-hour mark. Now, as we move on here, around 16, 17 hours in, again, this is different for everyone, but for most people, around this time of the fast, you start to ramp up a process called autophagy. The Greeks defined autophagy as eat thyself. Sounds weird, but it's actually pretty cool. Your body is so smart. I mentioned the innate intelligence. When you're around 16, 17 hours without food, your body thinks, whoa, we're not getting food energy. We need to get energy from somewhere. Let's look for cells that are not functioning well. Cells that are preventing you from producing energy so you feel amazing. Cells that are so inflamed they have difficulty burning fat, they're stuck burning sugar. And autophagy is the process, kind of like Pac-Man, going within your cells and cleaning out the junk. Now, autophagy is kind of always occurring inside of the body. Exercise, strength training, and fasting are amazing ways to really activate it. It's kind of like your refrigerator. You open up your refrigerator and you have all these groceries that have expiration dates on them. The orange juice, the milk, the produce. What would happen if you let all the groceries inside of your refrigerator expire? And instead of throwing them into the trash can, you just kind of shove them towards the back of the refrigerator, buy new fresh groceries, put them in front of the old expired groceries, and close that door, come back hours later. You open up that refrigerator door, this is gonna be a toxic, diseased environment. This is the same thing that is inside of your body, meaning you have cells, mitochondria, proteins, fats that have expiration dates on them. Autophagy is the process of getting rid of those expired cells. About 60 billion of these cells need to be thrown out every single day. So around the 16, 17 hour mark of a fast, you start cleaning out the junk. You start cleaning out the trash within the cells. And this autophagy process reaches its peak around the 48 to 72 hour mark of your fast here. This is when your body's deeply engaging in this cellular cleanup process. This is profound when it comes to preventing diseases like cancer, autoimmune disease, and even reversing some of these conditions, because these cells that are not functioning well, they're called senescent cells. They're also called zombie cells, as I refer to them in my brand new book, Metabolic Freedom. These cells kind of just sit in your body like zombies. They infect other cells and make them become zombie cells. They have no function. They have no benefit. And when they're in your immune system, they're called immunosenescent cells, and it could lead to autoimmune conditions. When it's cancer cells, or I should say precancerous cells, that could lead to cancerous cells. So autophagy, your body is so stinking smart, it goes for those cells that are not functioning well. You see, we are hardwired, your body is, your DNA is hardwired for the old school. Your body is hardwired for times of famine. And autophagy is one of those things your body ramps up during a fast to deal with senescent cells. Not to mention, there's something called counter-regulatory hormones that are also getting turned on during this part of your fast. You're gonna notice around that 16 to 17 hour mark, your energy levels actually increase, your focus and clarity increases as well. And yeah, the ketones play a role there, but those counter-regulatory hormones are what's happening. You see, these are hormones that run counter to insulin. Around 17 hours, you're gonna have low levels of insulin, and these hormones run counter to insulin. Cortisol, glucagon, human growth hormone. This is your body's way of literally pumping you full of energy because it thinks you're going through a famine, and it needs to help you stay focused and energized to catch your next meal, to hunt and kill your next meal so you could stay alive. It doesn't understand that I could go on my phone, hit Uber Eats button, and have somebody knocking on my door with food in 40 minutes. It doesn't understand Uber Eats or DoorDash. It only understands the famine. So you could actually trick it, and it'll pump you full of energy. Now you have focus, clarity, energy, and you're going through this autophagy state around the 17-hour mark. And one more thing here, there's also a process called mitophagy that occurs, where your mitochondrial membranes and mitochondria now start to get cleaned out as well. So you have autophagy, mitophagy, and that's getting ramped up around the 16 to 17 hour mark during your fast. 24 hours in, we get a gut reset. This is where now you've, of course, completed your digestion. You got ketones flowing through your bloodstream. You got the counter-regulatory hormones activated. You got autophagy cleaning out the house, and your digestive system's going through this complete reset, where you're fixing things, right? Leaky gut is a big issue. It's also called intestinal permeability, where your tight junctions are open and food particles go undigested into the bloodstream, leading to a hyperimmune system, which is called autoimmune disease. So when you are 24 hours into a fast, you get this gut reset. MIT research shows that 24-hour fast in mice completely restored the intestinal stem cells, which is super cool. So you have your intestinal stem cells that start to get produced to heal your gut. So if you struggle with digestive issues like gas, bloating, acid reflux, indigestion, this is where you start to fix all of those conditions 24 hours in this fast. As we start to get closer to the 36-hour mark of this fast, you start to burn a ton of fat. As I mentioned earlier, your body fat, and I'm referring to the fat around your love handles, the visceral fat around your organs, that's simply stored energy. 36 hours into a fast, you start to use that for a fuel source. You start to burn stored body fat, and you start to slim down rapidly. Yeah, there's some water weight being lost, but you're actually burning your fat cells. You're using it for energy. So ketones start to rise up as well, which overall helps you feel good, lowers inflammation. 36 hours into a fast is a great way to burn fat. You see, we want to start burning through our sugar reserves, which you do, and then tap into the body fat, and you activate that deep into this fast around that 36-hour mark. And speaking of fat loss, I have a free ebook you could download right now by scanning the QR code on your screen, or if you're listening on the podcast, if you go to the link in the notes, or simply go to burnfatbook.com. It's a 7-day protocol to lose 10 pounds of fat in 7 days. So if fat loss is one of your goals this year, go download that for free over at burnfatbook.com or scanning the QR code on the screen. This brings us to the 72-hour mark of your fast. This is where, according to research by Dr. Walter Longo and others, you see stem cell activity. We mentioned autophagy kind of peaks at this time, but you see stem cell activity, especially in the bone marrow. And stem cells regenerate new white blood cells. So it actually improves your immune system. It effectively reboots your entire immune system at the 72-hour mark, which is very cool. Now, this is especially important for those who have autoimmune disease or somebody who is recovering from immunosuppressant drugs or those undergoing chemotherapy. It's used a lot for that. It's this complete immune system reset around the 72-hour mark. Now, something else is also happening here around the 72-hour mark. You're getting something called a dopamine reset. There are D2 receptor sites of dopamine in your brain. Look, dopamine is involved with reward, processing, motivation. It helps you stay inspired, prevents you from procrastinating. It helps with your happiness and joy and gratitude. Unfortunately, a lot of people have dopamine resistance, similar to insulin resistance, where you've spiked your insulin for so long, now you are resistant to the hormone insulin. With dopamine, it's very similar. We have dopamine hits all the time with social media, TV, all the stimulation around us, and we find ourselves feeling depressed or sad or not motivated because our dopamine receptor sites are blunted. We have dopamine resistance. So what if you could reset that? And you can. Around a 72-hour mark of your fast, you start to see the D2 receptor sites for dopamine get activated. That simply means you kind of experience a spiritual experience. I know the first time I did a 5-day water fast, I noticed this. I felt so happy. I felt so grateful. It was like a spiritual experience, and it's no coincidence that every religion practices some form of fasting, right? Some form of long version of fasting here. So if you struggle with motivation, if you struggle with procrastination, and you have dopamine resistance, the 72-hour mark is gonna be really special for you. You're gonna notice it right away. And simply put, you create neurogenesis, which is the growth of new neurons, which actually use dopamine better, more efficiently. At the end of your fast here, 100 hours, remember 4 days, 4 hours is 100 hours, you start to see a surge in stem cells. I mentioned the autophagy process that's happening throughout this fast. There are some cells in your body that have no function. And when your innate intelligence starts to clean out the cells, and it has determined that these cells do not function, they're the zombie cells I mentioned earlier, your innate intelligence sends a signal to activate something called apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. And this is happening at a high percentage, a high rate towards the end of this 100-hour fast. Once your body, your innate intelligence, gets rid of that cell, it sends another signal for a stem cell. And the amazing thing about this is that that new cell, that stem cell, could be used for your liver if you have fatty liver disease. It could be used for your heart, for your brain. The innate intelligence will determine where that stem cell goes, and it'll heal that area. This is very cool. I remember during the 100-hour mark of my fast, the first time I did a 5-day water fast, I noticed something interesting. I started to notice my lower back was bothering me. I was getting this pulsating pain. And for many years, I would throw out my back doing deadlifts at the CrossFit I used to own. I used to have a lot of back issues. And I thought, wow, why am I having back pain around the 100-hour mark? It was the autophagy and the stem cells healing that area. So you might notice some pain in certain areas that you've had injuries in the past. That is your innate intelligence healing that area. This is absolutely incredible. And I want to get into some specific Q&As that I get asked on this topic. I have a brand new book called Metabolic Freedom, published with Hay House, being released May 13th, 2025. This book outlines the exact steps to restore your metabolism, heal your hormones, and burn fat. It presents to you the problems to why we see metabolic disease and the exact steps to restore your metabolism to burn serious fat. At the end of the book, there's a 30-day plan for you to lose up to 30 pounds in 30 days. And here's the exciting announcement. You could get this book right now. And when you order it today, you'll get a free Metabolic Freedom mini course where I teach you how the metabolism works, my favorite keto and fasting hacks to burn fat, and exclusive interviews with Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Daniel Pompa, Cynthia Thurlow, Megan Ramos, and others. That is all for free in this mini course. If you go to the QR code on the screen right now, or if you're listening on the podcast, head to metabolicfreedombook.com or click the link at the top of the notes of this video and this podcast, you could go purchase the book right now and get immediate access to this free mini course and exclusive interviews. Click the link down below or go to metabolicfreedombook.com. Okay, let's get into your top questions here. The first question is this, and I got asked this a lot when I used to own my CrossFit gym. Will you lose muscle during this 100-hour fast? You know, the truth is you might, and is that a bad thing? All right, when we think about muscle loss in fasting, for sure, if you do too much fasting and it's excessive and you don't get enough protein, essential amino acids, over time, you will lose hard-earned muscle mass. But if you're doing a 100-hour fast from time to time, not every month, maybe once a year or once every other quarter, it's actually not going to be a problem when it comes to muscle mass because your body raises human growth hormone. There might be some muscle volume lost, and that's what is usually measured. And people who say, don't fast, you're going to lose muscle, they're looking at muscle volume, which is more of like fiber and water mass, not necessarily muscle protein. And what we don't think about is what happens when you break the fast and eat high quality protein and build that protein back. You can actually get stronger. Human growth hormone is a big player here. Look, celebrities pay thousands of dollars every year, and athletes sometimes, to get human growth hormone injected into them. Well, you could actually get a huge boost in human growth hormone during this 100-hour fast. Human growth hormone is fat-burning, anti-aging, muscle-building, and muscle-preserving. And studies even show a 24-hour fast raised human growth hormone 2,000% in men and 1,300% in women. Your body is smart. It's not going to burn muscle mass because it's going to burn the fat first. Now, if you're very lean, 6% body fat or less, probably not a good idea to do a 100-hour fast. You probably will tap into some muscle mass here. But if you have body fat, of course your body's gonna use that. It's intelligent. Why would it burn muscle when you have all this fat? That's like saying, hey, it's the summer. I know winter is coming around in a few months, so I'm gonna store all this firewood for the cold winter months. Winter rolls around, you have all this firewood, but instead of using that, you chop up the couch and throw that into the furnace. Well, that's stupid. You got all this firewood. Well, same thing with your body fat. You have all this body fat, your body's gonna use that first. I would not be concerned with muscle loss during a 100-hour fast as long as you don't do it too frequently. Next question, what can I drink during the 100-hour fast? Tea is safe. Supplements that are not fat-soluble vitamins are safe. Fat-soluble vitamins are vitamins A, D, E, and K. You don't necessarily wanna have that during a fast because you need to have that with food to help increase absorption. Plus, some people could take fat-soluble vitamins during a fast and get nauseous. Coffee depends, right? If you really want to maximize the amazing benefits I outlined here, you just want to have water and salt. That's it. Coffee could be okay, but you got to test your blood sugar to see if it's raising your blood sugar levels. I know when I first did my 5-day water fast, I did have coffee, but it does push innate intelligence certain directions. And if you could just do a strict water-only fast with just sea salt, minerals in water, even hydrogen water is the best, that would be the best way to perform your fast. Next question, should I exercise during the 100-hour fast? You can, I've had some students do it, but I don't recommend it. You wanna use your resources and energy for healing, not necessarily for exercise. So it's up to you. I recommend just going for walks. Personally, I don't do any strength training or high intensity exercise, just very low to moderate exercise like walking during a long fast like this. Next question, should I do this 100-hour fast if I don't have much experience practicing fasting? No, you don't wanna go right into a 100-hour fast if you've never done a 24-hour fast. Fasting is like a muscle. You develop it over time. Fasting is like a chainsaw. I always say this, it's like a chainsaw. A chainsaw could get you amazing results as long as you read the user manual. Fasting could also get you amazing results if you understand it. A chainsaw could hurt you if you use it too quickly, too aggressively, you don't know really how to use it. Fasting's the same way. So you wanna build up the fasting muscle. Complete a 24-hour fast, a 36-hour fast, and kind of work your way up to feeling good, and then you wanna complete the 100-hour fast. Next question is this, what are your thoughts on dry fasting? I've done a 24-hour dry fast before, never 100 hours, I don't recommend that, that's pretty extreme, and dry fasting in general is very extreme, so work with a practitioner on this, and even the 100-hour fast, probably a good idea to work with a practitioner on this. I teach this to my Keto Camp Academy students, I work with them, and the coaches I work with, or I've trained, work with them on this. But dry fasting, there's two types. There's a soft dry fast and a hard dry fast. A soft dry fast means you don't have any water for that fast, no supplements, you don't put anything in your mouth, but you can wash your hands, take a shower, go outside in the rain. There's some hydration that occurs when you do that. A hard dry fast means, of course, no food, no water, but you don't brush your teeth, you don't wash your hands, you get no water contact on your skin. Again, this is extreme, but it's been said, and there's not really concrete research to show this, but I have looked at glucose and ketones, and I've seen body fat percentages and the scale measurements versus somebody doing a water fast versus a dry fast. And there seems to be about 3 times more benefits with a dry fast versus a water fast. You get about 3 times more autophagy, more fat loss, more of the benefits we spoke about because it's more extreme. So meaning a 24-hour dry fast could be equivalent to like a 3-day water fast. Again, that is just hypothetical. That is me guessing here in terms of things I've seen, but not really concrete research to show it. So if you think about it, we all do a dry fast every night for 8 hours when we sleep. Maybe you go 14 hours, 16 hours, and I eventually did a 24-hour fast and it was beneficial, but I would not do it for the 100-hour fast we're talking about here. Next question, what are your thoughts on tracking blood glucose and blood ketones during a fast? I think that's a great idea. That's how I teach it to my students. You could use a machine like Keto Mojo over at ketocampmachine.com. Coupon code is KetoCamp24. And I'll put that link down below. But glucose and ketones, you want to see glucose gradually drop during your 100-hour fast and ketones rise. I remember during the end of my 5-day water fast, the first time I did it, this is back in 2018. I was checking glucose and ketones. My glucose went as low as 52 milligrams per deciliters. Now, if a doctor saw that, they would say you are hypoglycemic. However, my ketones were over 5.5 millimoles per liter. I was strictly burning fat, running on ketones, and I felt fine. I do think it's a good idea to look at blood glucose and ketones. However, it's not required to do the fast. Next question, what is the best way to break this long fast? Remember, 100 hours means you didn't eat food, you didn't go produce stomach enzymes and bile digestive processes, so your gut has completely reset and rested. So you want to break it very slow. I like breaking it with bone broth, scrambled eggs, maybe some avocados, maybe a light protein shake for about a day, and then going back into my normal routine. You want to break it very low and slow. Not with a lot of carbs, not with a lot of calories. You want to go very low and slow for the first 24 hours. Next question is, what's the longest fast ever recorded? Ooh, this is a good one. I wrote about this gentleman, Angus Barbery, in my book, Metabolic Freedom, and my previous book, Keto Flex. Angus Barbery, he was a Scotsman who went on a medically supervised water fast for 382 days. On day 1, he was 450 pounds. You can see here on the screen for those watching on YouTube. On day 382, he went to 180 pounds. He had water, coffee, tea, some multivitamin, and I believe nutritional yeast, but pretty much a fast. But look, he wasn't eating for 382 days in terms of the food putting in his mouth, but he was eating his stored body fat. He had a lot of body fat to use for energy. And he looked great. Electrolytes, blood work looked great on day 382. We have body fat for a reason. It's to use it for energy when we don't eat food. So I hope this inspires you to practice some variation of fasting. I have a ton of content here on my Metabolic Freedom podcast and YouTube channel on fasting. Share this episode with a friend. Inspire somebody to maybe do that 100-hour fast with you. And I thank you for watching and listening to the entire lesson. And hey, if you're looking to burn fat, I just published a video. This is kind of like a part 2 to this fasting piece on how to lose 5 pounds in 5 days with 3 simple breakfast rules. Check out this clip. I'll see you in that video. So many people who are trying to burn fat unknowingly eat the wrong breakfast foods, which puts their metabolism in a fat storage state. When this happens, it makes it impossible to burn fat. It will be easy, and the weight comes off as a side effect from addressing these 2 roadblocks. So the 2 roadblocks are